Hey, Dr. Mike here. Are you wondering what's causing your hair loss? And more importantly, how to get it back? Well, stick around to find out.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Foreverish. Dr. Crystal, hair loss is a major concern for millions and millions and millions of people.
We just don't know what to do about it. Should we embrace it, Dr. Mike? You're seeing in Hollywood now, people are starting to...
Listen, I think it's totally up to the individual, right? I'm probably more the type that would embrace it, although I got a pretty good head of hair still. But
that's why you're embracing it.
But I also understand that, especially, I mean, I can only speak for guys, but... especially younger guys, when they start losing their hair, that has a big impact on their attitude, their mood. It's kind of, it's sad for many of them.
Well, yes, it's coming to terms with aging. And, this show is all about living forever-ish. Yeah. And for many people, it's not just feeling good on the inside. It's how you look on the outside.
And that's okay. Yeah. So I get it. I get that people want to know what's happening and how to ultimately keep it from happening, and maybe even grow some new hairs, right? So let's get into this. The number one cause of hair loss, and this is the one I think most people are familiar with, right? The technical term is androgenic alopecia, right?
Yeah.
Hormonal.
Yeah, right. The androgens.
Yeah.
So androgenic meaning androgens, which are the testosterone, the DHEA, some people are familiar with that, and then the more potent testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, DHT.
That's the one I think people don't maybe know what's going on, right? So testosterone can convert to this more potent DHT. Matter of fact, we have here 5 times greater affinity for the receptors on hair follicles, and when those androgens attach like that, they cause that follicle to stop growing, to go into like rest phases and stuff, right?
Yes, and just to clarify or point out, this is in men and women.
Yes, this is not just absolutely. This is a bit. We hear it in men more, and most of, like, especially in the 80s and 90s, most of the programs were all about men's hair club. Wasn't there something like that?
Yes, yeah. I do remember that. I don't know what they were doing what kind of treatments they were offering.
Don't remember. But at the same time, though, women were losing their hair too. It was just something women didn't talk about as much.
Right. And women have more strategic ways to cover up their hair loss, which men are starting to adapt now with the hair. I don't want to say not the transplants, but like the hair extensions and the wigs and things like that. Men are starting to get into that too now.
I think we should just bring back the good old comb over. Just pull that over, cover up that forehead. No, please don't. Don't do that. There's better things you can do, right? Honestly, and that we're going to talk about some of that coming up. So that's your number one cause. It's hormonal. Let's do a fun fact.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the question.
Okay.
Is it true that if I want to know if I'm going to go bald, I should look at my mom's side of the family?
Very true.
Very true.
Yes. Now, of course, in many cases is more likely to be the genetics on the mother's side of the family related to hair loss, but not always the case.
Not always, yeah.
So you may have to look at grandpa.
Yeah, well, my grandpa on both sides had good head of hairs.
Now, have you ever heard, this is a side note, that it skips generations?
Yeah, I have no idea if that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't either. It just came to me.
I don't know why. I mean, there are genetics that do based on like if they're recessive gene, like but I don't. Because here's the problem with that: it's not just genetics. You maybe you're in that line to be skipped. You're like woohoo, but if you got too much DHT, you're gonna lose some hair.
That's true.
All right. Anyways, that's the number one cause. But there's other causes we wanted to run by because here's the thing: whatever program you end up going on, and we'll cover some coming up. You have to look at some of these additional causes, because if you don't make the corrections here, you're making your treatment tougher. It's going to be more of an uphill battle.
Right. especially when we talk about nutrition.
So let's get right into that. That's one of the number one's hormonal, but right after that is probably these nutritional deficiencies.
Yes.
Iron.
Make sure you're not anemic.
Yep.
Point blank, period.
It simply has to do, I like the way you put it before, where it's just about circulation. It's about getting oxygen. Hair follicles are highly metabolic. I mean, they're growing all the time. You know, your gut does that, nerves do that, your muscles are doing, and hair follicles are part of that group of tissue that's just going and going and going. Hey, they need a lot of nutrition.
Yeah, so if it's falling out or shedding and brittle as well, that's a clue that it might be iron related or anemia related.
And then vitamin D.
Yeah, I was shocked to see this, Dr. Mike. This study that examined vitamin D concentrations in individuals who had thinning hair and those who did not. And the research found that just shy of 80% of the participants in the thinning hair group had low vitamin D.
Yeah. We've said this before. There are vitamin D receptors on every cell line, every tissue line in the human body. If you're not taking vitamin, after watching our show for how many years we've been doing this, I don't even know. If you're not taking vitamin D every day, and I'm not even outside of a multi, like a standalone vitamin D.
And I would have to tell you, just last night I was reviewing a relative's lab test. They will be unnamed, but they take vitamin D weekly, like a larger dose weekly, and vitamin D was around 30. And I said, well, what is going on here? And I said, okay, are you taking it with food? You start having to probe to figure out. So, it's just, remember, it's fat-soluble vitamin. Take it with food. Test, retest. Don't just assume because you're taking it that your levels are good, because I would never have imagined that this person's levels would still be suboptimal, because it was fine on their lab test.
So again, it goes back to how they're doing it probably and stuff. But that's good that they're doing it and checking.
Yeah.
More people need to know their vitamin D level as much as they know their cholesterol level. Right?
For sure.
All right, we're bogging down here. Niacin, biotin, and other B vitamins.
Yep. Deficiencies in those B vitamins linked with hair loss, especially the ones that relate back to iron deficiency or anemia.
Yeah.
The B vitamins are involved with that.
Zinc. That was a surprising one to me, but apparently it's needed for healthy hair. Mm-hmm. Look at that. And then there's other things, besides nutritional deficiencies, stress. Those cortisols, those stress hormones. Hair follicles do not like those things.
Nope. They take a nap.
Yeah, so you gotta. Yeah, that's what stress does, right? It actually keeps it in a what is it? Non-growing phase, basically, a resting phase, right? I don't know if people know this, but your follicles go through resting, and then they grow, and then they rest. There's like a cycle, right?
Yep.
And so stress keeps them resting. You wanted to mention postpartum hair loss.
I did, just to bring some awareness to this, that many women, it's just something to expect. Often the hair will stop after about 6 to 8 months. The shedding and the hair loss will kind of subside, but if it doesn't, go to a dermatologist.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's something to expect.
And then so that's pregnancy, but then on the other end, the menopause, that's also another cause potentially, right?
Yeah, and you just want to balance your hormones.
Yeah. And the last thing I would say too, since we're on hormones right there, is thyroid is important to look at as well, especially if your hair loss all of a sudden is quick.
Or in other places.
Yeah,
If you're losing your eyebrows.
Eyebrows, that's actually quite common. The outer edges. Mm-hmm. Your eyebrows regress inward.
So, yeah, that's something just a little clue that maybe it's thyroid.
So, so to sum all this up, testing is important. And there are, hair loss panels out there, comprehensive hair loss panels. Our sponsor, Life Extension, has one, right? This test covers your cortisol, stress, right? Ferritin, which is linked to the iron issues and all that. And actually, ferritin is a really good one to look at.
Yes.
CRP for inflammation. And then, of course, all the hormones. They're all there. Free and total
DHEA,
testosterone, DHT. Yep. Comprehensive thyroid is included. Insulin.
Hoodoo.
Yeah, that's another thing. Higher insulin levels, excessive insulin.
May shrink the hair follicles.
Yeah, they don't like it. They don't like that. And then there are some, lesser causes we didn't really talk about in the previous section, but some autoimmune disorders can cause, hair loss. A lot of people with like lupus will get that. And so there is a common autoimmune marker that they're also checking in this comprehensive panel. So check that out, lifeextension.com/labs, and you get 25% off right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But here's why you want to do it. Again, I'm going to reiterate this. If you're going to, whatever treatment you're going to do, right? You want it to work. I mean, that's the whole point. Which means you need to know if you got to correct some of these nutritional deficiencies.
You need to know why. I mean, maybe you're shopping and you're picking up from the local Walmart the hair shampoo, you're trying all of these maybe topical things, and it could be something internally.
Sure. See, good point. Yeah. So you got to know. So testing's important. So let's move now into treatments and what are some of the things that are available. And of course, we always say food first, nutrition first, right?
Absolutely. Make sure you're getting protein. The hair is made of protein. And so we need those amino acids, the building blocks of protein. They are just vital for healthy hair, not just topically. Again, internal protein, specifically cysteine and methionine are two amino acids that are important for hair.
Yeah. So, I mean, just again, nutrition first. I had a friend, I don't know if I ever told you this, she was a vegan. And when she first started, I mean, she's probably been doing it about 6 months, and she noticed thinning hair. And she was wondering, am I getting enough protein? Because she saw a nutritionist.
Yeah.
And they repped up, they taught her how to eat more protein, plant-based protein, and it helped. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
But think about that. That's the hair follicle needs those amino acids.
So, yes.
Right? If you're not getting enough of it, then things suffer.
And then we talk about not just the amino acids, the B vitamins. And I know we have a show coming up, I think in June, where we will focus in on common nutritional deficiencies in vegans. But the B vitamins are top of mind, the B12 specifically. Yeah. So it kind of also goes back to you are restricting these foods that may be offering specific vitamins, and you need to make sure you replace them.
Now the way we're going to talk about this, let's break this up. So nutrition first. Okay, good, covered. Let's first talk about the hair follicle itself and just making it thicker. Like, how about let's not new hair yet. Just what if I notice it's thinning a little bit, but I don't feel like I'm losing a lot. I just want to make it look fuller. Maybe that's the way most people would say that, right?
Yeah.
Fuller. All right. So let's talk about that first. And we're going to break this into natural solutions and then the conventional ones, right? So if you want fuller hair, thicker shafts, number one, I found this one, and I know you already knew about it, but I had never heard of this before. Making like a raw egg solution, right?
Yes.
You said you had somebody added something to it? Mayonnaise. No idea why. And you rub it into your scalp.
Yes, you are hydrating the hair, which can help to make it look fuller. And then all that protein that you're getting from the egg.
I'd have to see.
Eggs, it's more than just for Rocky.
I'd have to see.
It certainly is.
That's a boomer reference. Like, what? You're not that old.
But yeah, the eggs topically will give you lots of good protein.
I'm going to say good clinical study in this.
Good conditioning as well.
Olive oil, especially with massages, scalp massages. That I think is more related to the inflammation, keeping that down.
And improving the blood flow with the massages.
Yeah. Oh God, it's so good.
Yeah.
Man, the minute you start getting a scalp massage, it's just like automatically. I'm just like,
it's the best thing ever.
I just can just go right out.
That was when I knew my husband was marriage material.
Yeah. They have this one. Do you ever see that one where it looks like a whisk, but it's open at the end.
Oh, yes.
And you just you go like this. Yeah, it's really good.
A scalp scratcher.
And I had a friend who would do it to his dog. And the dog's expression. The dog's just like just loving every second of that. Infrared hats. What do you think about those?
Yeah, there's some research that infrared light can stimulate blood flow, more oxygen, more nutrients getting to the scalp.
Yeah. I'm glad to see they kind of evolved it. The first ones that came out were like these huge helmets. Do you remember seeing that?
Oh, now it's like a ball cap.
Now it's like, it looks more like a baseball cap, so it's a little bit better. But the original ones was like a Martian helmet. All right, that's good. So yeah, check those out. Conventional ways to increase that the diameter of the shaft. We're going to call that fullness. Are these shampoos and conditioners that contain vitamin B5? Panthenol.
That's right. And then another trick when you're looking at some of the shampoos and conditioners, especially if your hair is thin and you want it to look thicker, avoid the ones that say that they are ultra moisturizing. You don't want something that's going to leave kind of a heavy residue to weigh the hair down because it won't look thick. So you want it to be light and fluffy, and then you can tease the roots a little bit, and then it really gives that appearance of thicker hair.
It goes back to the idea that more must be better. So if like this is a moisturizer, well, now it's ultra moisturizer. Not always the best thing.
Right.
That's a good point. Okay, now let's talk about regrowing hair. Now the technical term of this is hair density, right? But it's regrowing at the end of the day. So let's talk about some natural ways to do this. Now, and the first one is going back to that number one cause, the hormonal issue where testosterone is converting to DHT, that powerful, potent testosterone, binding 5 times more to those follicle receptors, and the follicles don't like it. And so the first one that helps to block that conversion, keep DHT down, is beta cystosterol. Where are we getting that from?
We're getting it from saw palmetto. This is what you will find in most of your kind of internal natural solutions. Saw palmetto berries, pygeum, nettle, other plants contain this beta cytosterol. And what that's doing is blocking that conversion or blocking the enzyme that converts testosterone into DHT.
Yeah. And technically it could be topical, but most of this is going to be probably capsules for beta cystosterol, right? Or is it
potentially, but you want the internal effect
Inside
because
out.
you want to target that enzyme from that testosterone that's floating around in the bloodstream and kind of that metabolism that's happening inside of the cells. That's where you're wanting to target it.
It goes back to the inside out kind of concept of beauty, right? Skin. We forget, most of the time we're thinking, okay, it's skin, it's hair. I got to do something on top, which can maybe help. But it's, your skin and your scalp they're organs. It's the part of the largest organ system. So sometimes inside out is better.
Yeah, I mean, that conversion's not just happening in the hair follicles and right there. It's happening all throughout the body. So you're kind of giving it a dual action.
We have a study, another one. So that's beta cystosterol. Then we have one with solubilized keratin. Right. This was added. Now it wasn't. This is where it gets a little hard, right? Because this study was actually a few other things mixed in there. Good things though, like the vitamin B5. There was some zinc, copper, whatever. But the focus really was on this keratin, which is the outer part of that skin, right? Tell us about what they found.
Yeah, so after 90 days of use of this orally administered keratin combination, nutrient combo, it resulted in a 34% less loss of hair compared to placebo at both days 60 and 90 days.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty
and then
good
there was also, it helped to keep improve the ratio of the growth phase to the resting phase to keep you in that hair growth phase longer.
Longer, right. I'm going to restate that. 34% is actually really good when you think about it. I mean, that's noticeable.
Oh, for
without
sure.
a doubt. Yeah. Then there's, again, deep panthenol or panthenol vitamin B5, which we talked about before for thickening, right? It also can help with regrowth. Ultimately, what B5 is to the hair follicle is a kind of like a cellular proliferation stimulus. More cells, more follicles, and it actually keeps some of those follicles from dying off.
Yes, and so we would like to follow this and maybe see if there's more research. This is kind of preliminary data looking at the specific mechanism of action of that vitamin B5, but it's very promising. And
then lastly, vitamin E.
Tocotrienols.
Yeah, tocotrienols. I say tocotrienols. Why do I say tri?
Tree. I think they're both okay.
If I said tri or tree, you would know what I was talking about.
No.
You would know.
Yes, of course.
Trienols. Vitamin E, a form of vitamin E, right?
Yeah, so also some research that may target that androgenic alopecia.
And then moving to more conventional ways to kind of regrow the hair, the most effective treatments are going to be oral, topical, minoxidil. That's Rogaine. That's been out there for how long?
It has, and we're seeing more research, I would say, within the past month or so. There is some research now. Internal minoxidil has been shown to be very beneficial for hair loss. So that's something that's exciting.
I think when it first came out, I think it was more topical, right? It was like a serum or something that you rubbed in.
Yes.
And then it kind of from there was added to some shampoos. But then there's a prescription strength,
correct,
which is the pill, and that's really showing good results.
Correct. It's lengthening the time that the follicle is in its growing phase, and it also increases the size of the hair follicles. So we're excited for that. That's something you can, if you try the natural options.
Yeah.
You're not getting the results that you want, then ask your doctor for this.
Why not give the natural a shot, right? If see if that helps. It's usually number one, cheaper, less side effects. See if it works. If not, there are these prescriptions. Another one out there is called Propecia, has some decent research as well. And then of course at the very, I don't know. Some people go right to this first, but without trying other things, that's hair transplants. You could go for it.
Well, so the hair transplants, I would say the pro with that, if you can do the hair transplant before it gets very obvious, because you don't want people to know you had a hair transplant. So you can't wait until you're completely bald and then you show up a month later and you have a full head of hair.
Yeah, I know, obviously, right. And that's where I think most of them, it's when you start to recede, they transplant in that area where it was receding. It's that kind of stuff for sure. But but when you do that and you transplant that hair, you still got to think about things like hormones and DHT. You still want to keep like DHT down, right? That just because you put new hair in there doesn't mean they're now like super hairs.
Right. Yeah. Those follicles still need nutrients.
Yeah. Nutrients.
So nutrition
all that
still matters.
At the end of the day. That's why, again, going back to testing, very important. Again, that was at lifeextension.com/labs. So a lot of great information here. We're going to end with let's call it a fun question for Dr. Crystal.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
How often should I wash my hair? This is a common question, actually.
Well, people are asking how often should they wash, period. Remember that was going around?
Yes.
Okay, so anyway. So you should wash your hair as often as you feel like you need to based on the buildup of oils on the hair.
So like for me, I have to wash every day. I can't get around it. But let me ask you this. If you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of oily issues, is it then better to wait maybe a couple of days? Does that help keep the hair?
Yes. Yes, it does, because the washing, just like with anything, it dries it out. Imagine if you wash your hands every single day and
I do.
And then they get dry and they crack. The same thing can happen to your hair and your scalp. And it also depends on your curl pattern because
Okay, now you're losing me.
well, the people, if your hair is tightly curled, if it's very fine and straight, and so, or if you have looser curls, when the hair comes out of the follicle,
Mine's
it's either
straight.
coming out straight or it's coming out kind of wavy, or it's coming out.
Oh, when I was younger,
really
mine was
curly.
wavy. I had good hair, wavy, just nice.
Yeah. So
But
that,
now it's more straight and flat.
that will also impact it. So, every day for some people, once a week for others, it's just fine.
Well, there you go. Great information about hair loss. Again, we're really going to encourage you to get tested because, whatever you decide to do, you don't want it to be an uphill battle, right? So get your nutrition things checked, your hormones checked. I think that's a great place to start, right? Yeah. Hey, don't forget, at liveforeverish.com, we have lots and lots of other episodes you can listen to. So wherever you listen to your podcasts, please join us, subscribe. Right?
And leave us a review.
Yeah. We need reviews.
Yes.
Leave us reviews. Good reviews. And that's at liveforeverish.com. And then our sponsor, don't forget, lifeextension.com, because they love our audience. So when you're at Life Extension shopping around, when you check out, use the discount code podcast. And you'll get 10% off $50 or more plus free shipping and handling. There you go.
Podcast.
I'm Dr. Mike. That's
Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.